Welcome to this week's video. As you probably figured out by now, it's kind of a little bit of a different video this week in that there isn't necessarily, well, there is actually a session planned, so blank that bit. There isn't a targeted session planned. It's Monday today, bank holiday Monday. The other thing is that this is my race bike. So this isn't the bike that you've seen me ride kind of in the vlog. This is the bike that I'm actually going to be out riding. I've been training with this bike a lot indoors, but I've never actually ridden it on the roads or just outside. So a couple of adjustments needed to be made there in terms of mainly the rear derailleur just needed to be aligned better with the 11-speed cassette that I just got. I'll talk a little bit about a bit of the changes that have happened with it and why I'm kind of messing around with it now. But yeah, mainly used it indoors on the setup in the Smart Trainer since probably late November, early December, so for a long time. Truth be told, it used to be a time trial bike. It used to be a pure, strict time trial bike, an aero cockpit at the front, but I've actually made quite a lot of changes, as you could tell, to turn it into a bit of a road hybrid time trial thing. Wasn't comfortable at all with that time trial setup. I just couldn't get any power out in training. It was really, really aggressive, very, very low as well, so I couldn't get a lot of power out on it. But yeah, so today's video, if I don't fall over, is going to be about me trying this guy out and setting him up and setting it up and getting it ready for the road and getting a bit confident with it, getting a bit comfortable with it, so that when I do go out and race on this bike, I can put the power down with a bit of confidence, knowing that I've got control over it and, you know, it's not something that's completely new, completely alien to me. Well, when I first got the bike, the setup on the back had 10-speed and a disc wheel. So obviously I'd never used one of these before, and I don't care to pretend that I'm very confident with it either in terms of crosswinds or anything like that. I've never ridden anything like that. I wanted to practice, but haven't had the time to. But also it's tubular. It's not very flexible at all. It's kind of glued down. You'd have to remove all of that. You'd have to replace the entire tyre. So I ended up getting the wheel set. So I got the Team 30 Vision wheels there, and I've got the front wheel just here as well. Got the Michelin Pro 4 Endurance tyres there. Relatively light wheel set, quite cheap as well, but you know, not the heaviest thing in the world. Going from a disc setup to 11-speed, it does come with this deep section 45mm front wheel as well. I'll probably I'm definitely going to end up replacing that just to be a bit more comfortable, you know, and you know, matching wheels. There we are, matching set of wheels on the bike there. Obviously when switching from 10 to 11 speed, I had to switch the shifters, but that was naturally anyway because I was going from out front time trial shifters to road bar setups, rear derailleur as well as obviously cassette at the back. So all of that's been done by the local bike shop just around here, so managed to do that, all sorted. It's shifting really, really well. Obviously that Shimano Ultegra setup, I mean, it shifts like a dream. As I mentioned, the rear derailleur just needed a little bit of movement, so I just kind of adjusted it so it lines up a little bit better with the cassette there. Apologies about this mess of a blue mat, but this is kind of where I do my training. That is a very, very close clearance there between the tyre and the frame, but quite fortunately actually, I did try to set this up with 28mm tubeless tyres, which are currently out on the road bike or my training bike, and they wouldn't get through the frame, so I am going to have to stick to anything that kind of less than 25mm width on the tyres there. Right, we are all ready to go, and I say we. Yeah, so I took a cold hard look at myself after that last video, and the moustache is gone. The beard and the facial hair situation, yeah, that just had to be tidied up. Anyway, switched to the GoPro off the chest harness, and we are on the road. Welcome to on-road footage cam. I'm tempted to do a few more videos like this where I'm actually talking to you directly from the actual session itself. We're literally into the first 5 minutes here, and I'm really starting to notice that in the crosswinds You really feel this bike moving around. So I mentioned it used to be a time trial bike, so the frame itself is a little bit wider in order to provide a bit more aerodynamic movement. And it's weird because as soon as the wind hits you sideways, you feel that immediately. Ooh-wee, strong headwind heading out today. I'll say, hopefully that means tailwind on the way back, but it's North Wales and headwinds tend to find you even if you're running on a circle or a loop. It's weird, but it is what it is. Now, you'll notice I've got some clip-on aero bars here, but when I mentioned this bike was super aggressive, what I also need to add is this front end is super low. So I've actually got some spacers to bring it a little bit higher. I think I'm actually going to need this stem to go out a little bit more forward as well. I'm feeling a little bit bunched up at the top. I definitely feel like this stem could go forward a bit and it would still be a bit comfortable. Wow, that is a serious headwind. Alright, decent straight road now. A little bit bumpy. Might give this setup a go. I'm feeling confident. Which, in this wind, I am not. Surprisingly, hitting me side on. Don't like it. It's going to stay in the tops and the hoods. I think until I've got a longer reach on the stem, I'm confident just staying up here, having more control of the bike, even in the straight, especially in winds like this. You can see that I'm actually trying to stick close to the pavement, but even sticking close is proving to be a bit of a challenge, and it's actually kicking me out a bit. The crossvane is left to right, so that's the seafront at the moment, and obviously the wind is coming through from the water or from the ocean into the land. And that's the importance of the session, really. 40-minute spin, get the legs lively again after a really long run yesterday, really tough session yesterday. Typically this would be an indoor session for me, really early in the morning. Get the time done, get the spin going, get a sweat on, and then have a shower, get in, start work. But what's good, obviously, is that having a day off with no time constraints is that I can go out, try this bike, see how it feels, see how it controls, get a good feel for it heading into the races, get comfortable, get confident, so that when the races come, I can put the power down, knowing that I've got full control. Right, I'm thinking about setting up and doing a U-E somewhere, to be honest. Let's find a safe spot to turn around. Just checking I haven't been speaking to myself this whole time. I mean, I have, but nice to have a camera here to make me feel like I'm not going completely psychotic. My oh my. Now the wind is coming from the other side, really trying to keep my focus in, not slamming against the curb. I've just looked up for the first time. The clouds are looking very picturesque. The return of that headwind. I think you can almost see it in how difficult it is to control the bike. It's almost coming in diagonally now, like just to the northeast of me. Right, first set of lights. We turn in on the second. And hopefully a tailwind home. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's definitely feeling smoother on the way in than it was on the way out. Still going? Yeah, we're still going. What I will say is that the bike is stupidly stiff. But with that,
very responsive to acceleration, and as much as there is a sacrifice with the control in a crosswind, because obviously the frame's a little bit wider, it is absolutely slicing through the air. I could just feel it floating through these like very low percentage inclines. Like we're talking 1 to 3% here, not even that much to be honest, probably around 1%. And it's not feeling like an ascent. The bike is just going straight through it. Stupid stiff. Really comfortable though. Such a weird feeling. It's a fast pit. It's a super speedy bike. Straight up to speed. I mean, what speed is that? Feels like I'm just like floating, pushing the pedals just to move. We're sat just under 20 miles an hour. What is it, 32 Ks? Something like that. Nice and easy. So 14, accelerating off the block kind of thing, into a flow, and immediately up at 20. Like, it's stupid responsive. Not bad for an old gal. And there we are. Home sweet home. And we will catch up inside.
So naturally I pick a stupidly windy day, but that was kind of the point of it, right? I mean, that was really genuinely the point of it, is to go out in weather like that to test how comfortable I would be with riding that bike off a swim, a little bit tired, and going into whatever kind of conditions nature throws at me that day that the race seems to be happening. But overall, really happy with it, to be honest. I mean, you could tell the frames are really, really wide. So obviously, just to make it more aerodynamic, they're really, really super wide. And again, they're really just wide in a crosswind. There's a lot more surface area here for the actual wind to hit. So that's why naturally it's you know, not easy to control, which is why it's kind of important for me to do this. In terms of the wheels, happy with that decision. I mean, in that crosswind, I don't want to imagine what I would have been like on the disc wheel. I mean, having one, never ridden one before, two, never ridden a time trial frame bike in a crosswind before, and then to add a disc wheel to that measure, I mean, that's just asking for something to go wrong. But yeah, I'm gonna jump in the shower and then I'll come down and talk about the bike in itself and what, in terms of other changes I could make to make it a lot more comfortable and to make myself feel 100% confident with riding it. Cool, catch up in a second. What did I find? It's quite obvious from the footage that every single time the crosswind hit the bike, I was kind of deviating off to the left and right a little bit. So I think that's kind of a trial and error thing, right? So the more I get out on the bike, the more I feel comfortable with it, the more that's going to be naturally controlled, it's going to be expected. I think from my perspective, what I'm thinking of changing, when I first got it, it was purely an indoor training setup, including when it was first purchased. I think I got this early April 2020 and it was a strict time trial bike. I tried that indoors. I couldn't get the power down in terms of my hip angle being that low, me kind of leaning forward into that tuck position. I was on the bars too much, reaching over to change the gears. It just wasn't comfortable. So come January, changed it into a road bike setup. I'm going to be able to use it a lot more comfortably, obviously. Because of the bike positions that, or the recent bikes that I've had, I went really short on the stem. So I actually got a 80mm stem on there. I'm probably going to look to increasing that stem, as I said when I was out there, to about 100, maybe 120. And that's going to give me the ability to also lean forward and be in those clip-on aero bars and be a bit more aerodynamic, because that front end is quite aggressive and it's quite low. I'm thinking of potentially buying some razors as well for the clip-on bars. In terms of the bike itself, the reason I spotted it, I mean, that composite carbon material, when you're looking at it really up close and personal, you can see the kind of overlay of the carbon fiber. I thought that was just such a slick look, that kind of shiny black as well, and I always wanted an all black bike. My training bike at the moment, the Lapierre Sensation 200, I mean, that's just going to be my sturdy road bike that's going to do all the mileage, it's going to take all the damage, and it's just going to be really, really good to just have that bike to ride on whenever I need and want to. And this Giant TCR, that's going to be my main race bike, time trial bike. So I'm excited. I mean, in terms of next steps, definitely increase that stem length, get the razors for the clip-on aero bars as well. I think I'm pretty much confident with that, and that's going to be the race bike setup for the sprint triathlon. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you want to see down below in the comments, again, for any future ideas or anything that you might be interested in. If you haven't already, then do subscribe to the channel, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye.